said, oh, yes, I'm really getting tired. So I'm just. He, a 29-year-old Vietnam War veteran, told me way back as far as 1980 that when you first arrived back home to Providence, Rhode Island, Hughes, having spent the previous 3 or 4 hours drinking himself into a train of thought synonymous with a swirling herd of octopi tentacled bees, would wrap himself round with a moth-eaten tombstone road coat of swine herd wool, and stretching his festering bones lengthwise in a graffiti-sprayed trash can little stairwell out of reach of near toward groping gargoyle fingers, the sleep to sleep of 1,000 wounded souls who years earlier found themselves by the boatload returning homeward from a distant flame-torched visitation of a form of hell itself. What the I think that all the suffering was due to one man, really. In the 60s, a powerful man. And almost on flame torch visitation, form of hell. The silent war cry went up in a whirl of barbed wire smoke, beginning in the latest slice of the 1950s, was the earliest years of the following 60s. In this class in college where a man took poetry. And he was one of 7 students who invested in an accredited college course on poetry. I crossed paths there with after breaking up with the hilltop homesteading girl with the big, pretty blue eyes following a year and a half of dating. Being extremely opinionated, anti-monotheistically decked out per as usual in a black vest and collarless shirt. He many times advised me that I possessed an evolving claimage to early genius. He told me perhaps 1,000 times, and he told me once that I would be better myself reading Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and I might have above postulated also. A few or 3 years previous, I graduated from a high school in North Attleboro, and I was yet a mere sapling, barely out of the crib. I had never been to grape dripping vineyards of Italy nor the highfalutin streets of Paris. And twice or thrice, das a sand perching, lonely, hot shipwreck deck of shufflers cards that turned inside out became a moon craterish flat of circular stairwayed couples waltzing to and fro in a swank in certain roadside tavern, lit low from the overhead rafters by gas-lit lamps swinging fore and aft, within whose splash and dash dance floor bar counter a young lady, telling me afterward her was employed at a Rhode Island hospital down the double-lane route from the aforementioned watering hole. As we two made ourselves a denim jean splash up and down the checker tile abbreviated dance floor, she kept gazing into my eyes and peppering my rustically attenuated face with Madame Tiptoe from Idaho butterfly kisses. And her as well lived at the time with her festively attired grandparents in there and toward Pawtucket. As I threw across the cozy and uncobwebbable place of drunken mayhem, about a dozen variously sized couples were floating across the East Coast barroom dance floor. A few of them flying high in the mount with the rice pudding roundhouse. You say tomatoes, I say tomatoes, butterfly kisses, along with the ones that leaves the would-be smoochers slurping and up the extra saliva, as it were, the leftover dinner mint. What? At the same time, we too were industriously reinventing from scratch, the various romance vernaculars. Monsignor Albuquerque, Top Hat, and Dragon Tales was, as well as the rest of us, attending our weekly college classes. This was a different student. He were perhaps the worst poet ever walked this festive earth, polluting every page he touched with gingerbread crap. His pen was the bleach, and his pages were the genie cup to pneumonia. The very air he breathed while dipping his pens in whipped cream muffler system rumbling vocalisms of robust swan song streams of hyena contrived rear view mirrored diarrhea halitosis flat footing to and fro, and away in a wing we go. Yonder house, a cream deluxe chicken wing. Come one, come all, get down and boogie juggernaut, jukebox, jazz, jello, smello, smoldering on Kate's crispy pop and barbershop plates. And and as he read his heroically unmonstrable rattle of nosehead fluffum and buffum period pieces, his Adam's apple bounced all around the Besky Rexy room like a handlebar mustache tennis ball. And that ain't but buttering the half of it up and down in an hour. Five. And as we all gathered around him in silent revelry, the king of bad taste that he moist obviously was, we could hear from across the rolling college grounds flat benimbled chirping turtle doves from Gibraltar land miles away. It was even off the time set by his canary-keeping landlord, Clea del Rio's sip-nip and seal a la mode, the tri-state commode, that he circled himself round, walking the welter-wiggle shoe streets, attended by a fleet of hip-snipping knights, knowing round-table loyalties of lizard-shaped French fry-caped Robin Hoodisms reigning as mock cats and dogs from the very stars, weeping fiery flames so high above. He could be an oftener than not seen feeling around for his own tribe of matinee pancreatic fluids circling around him as he read onward, his mind a tuna smelt belt of meteors around the Manhattan towered satin folded napkins by neoclassical rolling past the unseen bell tower stairway, climbing pair of velvet valleyed eyes. A spiritual reawakening that would, from that timeless moment onward, carry me across the drifting years as mortal counter contrapunctual Mother Ocean to a made to order harbor town, carry her whitey tied in mom's loose knit flame tailed eyes. And so it finally came to pass that my college professor, having combed with his bric-a-brac headlighted court car the near to and adjacent streets, arrived at the open door of our seven studented room and the open windows were and across which carried, to our intricate hearing, a choir of wing-perching birds wove of varied strap. Wearing his suit jacket as a semi-retired chicken-egg breaker might drop in, quite unexpectedly, to visit the lean Queen of England. None of the seven of us had, arriving one by one only moments earlier, had come without hand-drafted musings in hand. Now the cat was finally out of the bag onto our disc-side collective lap. Saturday noon of day was once again upon us. A league of brass-molded castles could be heard playing Tin Pan Alley tennis outside. I thought to myself that my life, still in a state of paramount incubation, had taken a turn toward the better, at least as far as the next 2 or 3 years concerned themselves. The middle-aged housewife, Patricia Elephantson, seemed to be the most sincerely kind-hearted of all of us. Her rolling verses about family life and motherhood reflecting the personage the rest of us each weekend saw sitting alongside us. Ineluctable modality. And you know that man said? Ineluctable modality. So the saying goes from there. Meat, mashed potatoes, and summer squash spouting bubbles of blue moon butter. So miles south of the frigid weathered Canadian border, a cornucopia spilling vast brass fruitions there within cocooned. One of the other students just so happened, in this our Lord and Creator's way back year, drive of 1980, to be an elderly, semi-retired patron of the arts and sciences, gray-whiskered, a cat lover. A man, you might therefore say, of a pipe-smoking hilltop homestead occupying descateering, moth-bitten, calypso matinee, jump rail, leg crossing and uncrossing, verse weaver of the point counterpoint variety, no less. He ith smouldering forth his verse split tongue flames of rhythmic houndag, outlaw in law pursuits over land, sky, and raging sea. A tavern seat by the rolling streams of arbitrary water. Nearby waits his after-class personage, as if it were, instead of what it really was, a troop of castling gnats and rooks strolling the oftener the not-so bare-knuckle streets of a wraparound Cape Deluxe of cotton trove shirts, accompanied by an elbow-patch suit of cleft horns, cymbal clash, and flutter-wing pole perch, hot-stone prayer. He is, of course, a lukewarm native to the land of old John Crapper, once of a long while ago, somewhere offshore, saw through pickle-jarring binoculars and swank certain 2,300-watt magnum opus magnification time duration. His uncopyrighted articulations of open breath metricu- metrically illustrious verse seem to float out of his mouth and across the room of their own accord, anything but sorrowful and human spiritus unum ultram baruth barnacle pegleg is seized at whiles by gales and fits of jukebox diamond drop laughter. He doesn't know most days when or where to begin his off the beaten path theatrics or Ori. It is very irrelevant. He'd be just walking off the walls. This old guy with a pipe, smokes a pipe, and then you come into the room and start talking about his cat having kittens the night before out of nowhere. And it was comical the way he did it. It was just no one expected it. I get okay. If I were to feast my eyes upon such a beauteous lady as your own pretty-eyed, absolutely gorgeous, of highly arrayed, of flowing rose-petaled and silk-trained skirtings as yourself, my darling Natty May O'Brien of the flowing green pastures, winding pebble-bedded streams, I would dwell forever in the homestead of eternally joyous assemblage thereunto, of my whispery strolling darling from way up yonder, as well as the stridely arrayed valley orchards below, said the aging town squire, Pablo Bedard Escobar Morville, to the kindest gentle lady of the highlands, middlelands, and lush crystalline lowlands, doffing in high fidelity vernacular his wide-brimmed derby jenks, joyously festive rail-yard cap, as the two of them lounged upon the village homeland green, sitting by the near-toward water-drawing well of age, old clamitudes, gallant, spacious, and lat of hummingbird hop. You know, oh my ever endearing, beauteous soul, ever so beloved by one and all, ladies of the flowing black hair, cascading down your gentlest of shoulders all the way to your flowing skirted waist. Always think of me whether we wander the valley orchards alone together or among the many dashing citizens hereabouts strolling to and fro, replied Sir Pablo of the rambling plateaus there toward. Let me give the invariable reader of this slowly unfolding tale of love and high adventures a dovetailed description of what these rolling valleys and overlooking steeps were like, and the first watch, the safety of the second. As for the labyrinthine gardens of the beachfront epilogue, rich, fertile, and life-teeming lowlands, they were always a sense of high adventure there and among the low, long row of double-decker homesteads elegantly lining the joyous self-juxtaposing streets, where and across the hours of each passing day were met by and through the great dressing vines, fore and aft the budding boulevards, avenues, and crisscrossing lanes. Yes, indeed. Oh, is that so? Well, as it turns out, the festivities that very night led old Broseley to investigate with dark courting melodies, places combining tablelands of knowing exile myths with strange heaps of New Mexican gunfights, dreadlocked in the blinding dead of arid protean nights, indecipherable to any logical order. and we will continue.